My name is Heaton Shah, and I am one of the founders of Crazy Egg, a very profitable analytics company with over 10,000 paying customers. And my latest company is Kissmetrics, a venture-funded company based in Silicon Valley. I've also worked on over 20 other web projects. Some failed, some succeeded. Along the way, I've learned about the lean startup principles and started applying them to increase my chances of success. In 2005, we came up with an idea for a podcast advertising network. That's when podcasting and audio recordings on the web and people listening to them seemed like an interesting and big market. So podcasters had a very hard time finding advertisers, so people that wanted to pay money to reach their audience. And the reason for that was it was such a new medium at the time, and they basically didn't have one place where you could aggregate all these podcasters and basically have the advertisers buy ads in bulk. Because one of the biggest problems is individually each podcaster had a very small audience, but in aggregate our assumptions were that the audience was really big. We assumed that advertisers would get a high ROI simply because people tend to be highly engaged with these podcasts in terms of listening through the whole podcast. So things like putting an ad in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end could be very effective in getting their message out there. People are basically forced to listen to these ads if they want to get to the content. So it was pretty much a win-win where podcasters would be able to make money, advertisers would get their message out to the audience in a way that the audience wasn't going to ignore it, or wasn't able to ignore it. So Foodcast actually had two sets of customers: the people who were producing the content, producing the podcast, and also advertisers who were paying, basically through our system, paying the podcasters for ads on the podcast. The way the system worked was that advertisers would basically pay for these ads, and it ended up being an equivalent of about $250 for 1,000 unique listens. And basically what we would do, what Foodcast would do, would be organize all that. So we would take about a 30 or 40% cut, and the rest would go to the podcaster from the advertiser. So what we did is we created a product that was an advertising network that was a marketplace where people could post the podcast that they were doing, and advertisers can come in and bid on advertising on them. It took about 2 months. We outsourced the development of it. It cost us about $45,000 to develop it, and we launched it on November 3rd, 2005.